Stuti. Today we'll be talking about the religious perspectives across campus. Let's get into it! Here's my first question. What's your religion?
I am Christian, and specifically under that branch, non-denominational, which most people associate with Protestant.
Thank you. Why are you a believer in this religion?
I think one of the bigger reasons is both my parents believe in Christianity, and I was raised in a Christian household. And so I went to church every week, so it became kind of like a big part of my life. And then more and more, I also grew to like reading the Bible, doing all these things related to the religion. And so I think that's what really like grew my faith.
What are some of the primary principles promoted by your religion?
Okay, so Christianity, the primary principle, I guess, is to love everybody. There's verses in Matthew and Luke about that. And that verse specifically kind of says that you have to love God with your strength, your soul, but also you have to love your neighbor as yourself. So love everybody in the same way that you would love yourself.
Yeah. What makes you believe in God?
There's a lot of aspects to this. I guess the biggest one would be, or I guess a few would be, one, that if we look at how the universe was created, or like the universe as it is right now, there has to be a creator. And scientifically, the idea would be that nothing created everything, or like the idea for the Big Bang is quarks, and they all moved together very quickly. But what created quarks? And I think in one way it's like the creation of the universe, or the fact that the universe exists, points to the fact that something had to create it. And it's a lot easier for us to assume that a being created the universe and gave life to humans and life to animals than it is easier to assume that nothing besides quarks caused the universe to form.
Have you ever questioned your own beliefs or principles of the religion?
Definitely. I think one thing you hear in Christianity a lot is if you pray to the Lord and pray to God, He'll answer your prayers. So I remember as a kid what I would do and be like, God, please, I don't want to go to piano class. So just like make it rain so hard that I can't go, right? But obviously that didn't happen. I remember as a kid I was like, wait, that means this God's not real. But I think we do find that, and the actual principle is you pray and God will do what is right for you, not necessarily what you want.
What's your favorite part about your religion?
My favorite part about my religion? I think for me, it's the fact that I get to go to church with all these people and form this community, because I think that sometimes it's hard to have like a community of people in school because everybody's so busy, hard to talk to, but it's good that I get to spend a set period of time with these group of people and to grow with them and to be able to like share with them like what I'm going through, what they're going through, and to be able to grow with each other.
What are your opinions on other religions?
Okay, first things first, I think anybody can believe what they want. Like, that is totally acceptable. If you're an atheist, that's fine. If you're a Buddhist, if you believe in Islam or like all these other religions, that's all fine. I think like for me specifically, it's like I know there are certain Christians who like go out and seek these other religions and try and convert them. And there's a verse, the verse is Matthew 28:19, that kind of points to doing this. It says, "Go and make disciples of all nations." But in my opinion, it's more of like if these people come to you and ask you questions about your religion, then you should tell them. And I think this is more of a concept of like God is calling them rather than you are calling them. And yeah.
And how has religion shaped you as a person?
I think everything I do is religion-based. Like, I feel like the way I act is very much based off my religion. And I think the reason for that is because I am spending so much time in church, spending time reading the Bible, spending time fellowshipping with people, I think it's kind of formed me into the person that I am. Like, the ideals of Christianity of like loving everybody. I feel like obviously like I'm not perfect. I don't love everybody, but I feel like that's something that at least in my mind I know it's right and I try to do.
Okay. Alright, here's my first question. What is your religion?
I'm Muslim, so Islam.
Thank you. Why are you a follower of this religion?
My parents were born into it, but I think I genuinely love being Muslim. I think the principles are like very, like, I feel like they match up with what I think as a person and my morals, and I think it helps guide me to be a better person.
How are you active within your religious community?
I go to so it's Ramadan right now, which is the month of fasting, and I go to the mosque almost every night. I teach at Islamic school. I'm a part-time student, part-time teacher, and yeah.
Wow, okay. How's Ramadan going?
It's going pretty good. I think a lot of Muslims on campus are also celebrating it with me.
What are some of the primary principles promoted by your religion?
To be a good person. That's mainly it. Yeah.
How do you define being a good person?
By doing what you think is right, based on science, based on faith.
Yeah. And how would you define faith?
As something you believe in. Yeah.
Okay. What makes you believe in, like, your God?
I think that God can show up in people's life in many different ways. Specifically for mine, like if I'm having a bad day, for example, and something like a miracle happens, like I feel like that's the work of God, not like a miracle. But I get why other people wouldn't feel the same way.
Yeah. Okay, do you have any examples of these miracles in your life?
Yeah, like if I don't study for a test and I get an A, like I feel like that's God, like because I didn't deserve that A, I didn't do any studying.
Yeah, okay, valid. Have you ever questioned your own beliefs or principles of your religion?
No.
No, never? Okay, interesting. Why not?
I feel like everything is backed up with like information that is possible. Like I feel like scientifically, like in world history we learn about Islam and it's the same thing that I've been taught, and obviously history isn't based on religion or faith, it's based on like science and facts. So I feel like the stuff I've been learning like in my mosque, for example, is the same as the stuff we're learning in real life, so it makes sense to me.
Yeah, okay. What's your favorite part about being a Muslim?
I feel like the community. I feel like there's no community better than like your religious community, for example, or your cultural community, but for me it's like one and the same.
Yeah, right. And let's just say a lot of people, when trying to go against God, they might say, oh, why did God allow Hitler to do the Holocaust, right? And the response to that is always because God is merciful, lets humans have free will, something like that, right? But God doesn't feel like interfering with the Holocaust, but God does want to save your relative. Why? Because you prayed for that. I'm sure all those Jews would have been really wanted to be saved, right? So how could you look at that and go, oh no, God let that happen, but go, God caused my relative to be saved, you know? Also, last thing I want to mention that this idea was brought into my head by my favorite video game of all time, and I'm not gonna say what that is. But if you know me, then if you knew me, then you would know what I'm talking about.
Just mention it.
No.
Why not?
Okay, fine. My favorite video game of all time is called Doki Doki Literature Club.
And why did that influence this?
One of the characters in this game brings that up. Like she says, oh, if God, how come God causes this? You know?
Yeah. Here's my first question. What is your religion?
I'm a Hindu.
Okay. Why are you a follower of your religion?
I think a lot of different things. First of all, my parents are Hindu, so obviously that influenced my choice of religion. But also, I just feel like I really align with the values of Hinduism, and I like how open I guess it is. Not to say that other religions aren't open, but it's a very open religion. so I don't feel like confined, you know, if that makes sense.
What do you mean by it's an open religion?
Like, I feel like Hinduism, like, or at least in my eyes, is very, like, respectful of, like, other religions. Not, like, how do I explain this? Like, not to be, like, very single-minded and say, like, oh, Hinduism is the only religion. But you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that says, like, anything against other religions. Like, it's just very open, and, like, you have the freedom to do what you want as long as you're being, like, respectful and, like, on your path, on your dharma, you know what I'm saying?
How are you active within your religious community?
Oh, I love going to the temple. I like going to, like, different temples, like, because there's obviously a bunch of different gods and you go to, like, different temples. And so, like, I'll go probably, like, once every couple of weeks to, like, at least once a month. Like, I'll go and, like, get darshan. I don't know what the English word is for that, but, like, and it's just, like, a very good time because, like, you go and, like, you're in the presence of other Hindus and, like, in the presence of God, and it's, like, very nice, and it's, like, very grounding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned you really like the principles of Hinduism. What are the primary principles?
I would say the most important one for me is in the Bhagavad Gita, which is, like, the scripture, right? For me, the most important one is, I think it's chapter 2, question mark? Chapter 2, it says that, like, you have a duty to, like, or, like, you have the right to do your duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of your actions, if that makes sense. So it's basically saying that, like, you shouldn't be attached to, like, any kind of outcome and just, like, work hard. And I feel like that was very helpful for me, especially, like, college app season, because, like, not being attached to, like, the outcomes and just, like, focusing on doing my work. And, like, just overall, dharma, which is, like, I think, like, righteousness, and, like, that's, like, a very big thing, just, like, not doing anyone wrong and just, like, doing your own thing and, like, trying to uphold dharma is, like, really important in Hinduism.
Yeah, that's good. What makes you believe in gods in Hinduism?
I would say just, like, I feel like there's, like, a presence in the world watching over me, if that makes sense. And for me, it just, like, I resonate with, like, the Hindu gods, but obviously in, like, Christianity, it's, like, you know, Jesus is watching over you and stuff like that. But, like, for me, personally, just because I've grown up with it, I put a name to that presence as, like, all the Hindu gods, like, watching over me. But, yeah.
Have you ever questioned your own beliefs or the principles promoted by your religion?
I wouldn't say question, but I just feel like I wasn't super religious, like, as a kid, and it only, like, recently became a thing just because a lot of things, like, going on in, like, life, and there's, like, nowhere to turn to. And so at that point I was like, let me, like, look into religion a little bit more and, like, see if I can ground myself in it. So I wouldn't say question, but, like, I definitely was very, like, not open to exploring until, like, things happen in my life where I'm like, okay, I need a little bit of, like, guidance and reassurance. So in that sense, yeah.
Do you mind going into what happened in your life that made you turn to religion?
Just, like, lots of family things and, like, health problems, like, within the family, and, like, everyone was, like, anxious and, like, stressed, and, like, for me personally, we don't have anybody here, like, family to, like, help us out and stuff like that, and so it was just me and, like, my mom and everything, like, going on. So we were, like, a little bit stressed, and at that point I was like, okay, God got my back, and yeah, I think that's, like, the turning point, or that was the turning point for me in religion. Yes.
Yeah. What is your favorite part about Hinduism?
I feel like I low-key kind of already talked about it, but, like, I like the openness, and overall I just, like, really like the vibes.
How important do you think it is to conserve traditional religious practices as a part of practicing faith?
Okay, so for Hindus, I think, like, obviously puja and, like, worship is, like, a really big thing, but I feel like or at least for my family, we're not, like, as conservative about, like, okay, I'm gonna, like, give you one specific example, which is basically like in the olden times, like when women were like, you know, that time of the month they weren't allowed to like go worship and stuff like that. And so that, to me personally, I feel like to a lot of Hindus who is like a little bit like very restrictive and like conservative in that sense, but like now people I feel like recognize that, and they like, and they like will let you as a woman practice your faith and like give you that freedom. And so I feel like we're like expanding in that sense, but like obviously conserving like the traditional like puja practice and stuff is like really important, and like doing all that, but like we're also open. Openness is good. I like openness.
Yeah. And last question, how has religion shaped you as a person?
I feel like I'm a better person because of it. Or like I feel like I'm definitely more resilient than I was before, because there's like the things that are going on in like life, it's like really easy to get like bogged down by it, but having that like faith I feel like has helped me stay grounded and like confident in my own inner self, and like just inner peace is very important. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for watching. We hope you gained some new insight.